Hey dude, are you ready to set off on the Oregon Trail?
Yeah, I can't wait to die of dysentery.
Yeah, me neither. Let's go. Well, that was fast.
I don't care if you've never even heard of this game. I guarantee that you've played some version of it at some point in your life. The Oregon Trail has a reputation for being one of the earliest video games ever released, making it a landmark title in gaming history. Not only this, but it was one of the first popular educational games. That's a whole genre now. I mean, it did teach how many people died of dysentery. It was a lot. Educational games are great, aren't they? Now, instead of actually having to teach, you know, the thing they're paid to do, teachers can just let a computer teach you history. Incredible. My first memory of this game was in a classroom setting. In the 5th grade, it was raining outside, so we didn't have recess. Instead, my class went to the computer lab and they told us to play the Oregon Trail. Back then, we were all super young, so getting to use a computer during school was amazing. And not only that, but we got to play a video game? Best day ever, if only doing school stuff on computers remained as fun. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Oregon Trail opened up a lot of doors in the gaming industry, and for that, I respect it. But how well does it hold up today? Let's boot it up and see. Now, normally I'd be a banker. They make lots of money, but here's the deal. That's the easy mode. Now, I'm a true gamer, which means I'm playing on hard mode. Ow! Looks like hard mode is being a farmer. They get to start with $400. Alright, now we gotta name our team. Looks good to me. I reached the Kansas River crossing without much trouble. I've still got food and all that, but I've heard people drown when they try to ford the river, so let's ask a ferryman just to be safe. He's gonna make us wait 5 days? Ugh, fine. While we're waiting for the ferryman, let's talk a bit about the making of the Oregon Trail. The very first version of the Oregon Trail was developed all the way back in 1971 by Don Rawwich. He was only a senior in college at the time and was teaching history to middle schoolers. Make the computer do it. He used the limited computer resources of the time to create the earliest version of the Oregon Trail, which back then didn't even have a name. But dang, those middle schoolers loved it. A few years later, he was hired by the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, or MEC, a company that made educational games for schools. Don made a couple quality of life changes to his game, like adjusting random events and adding a few small things, then released his game back into the wild under the moniker of Oregon. Getting closer. It was made available to a large number of schools in the area and soon had thousands of players every month, which was a lot for back then. After that, he just kinda started re-releasing it every possible place he could, with minor upgrades every time. I think the version people tend to think of is the Apple II version, which is the one you've seen me play so far. It was released in 1985, and oh, would you look at that! The ferryman is ready to take us across. Directly after that, not much interesting happened. Fell into the Big Blue. No, it's a river! I lost Hav, stopped at Fort McKinney to buy some food, Of broke his leg. Which one? And then, on May 2nd, 1848, I stopped to hunt. This is the only thing you do that isn't directly based on text, so I'm expecting it'll be pretty good. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, it's pretty lackluster. I'm not sure of the constraints of the time, and I'm sure this was pretty good by the standards of the 80s, but it doesn't hold up too well. Also, turns out you're a sissy who can only carry 100 pounds of meat at a time, so I ended up wasting 1,723 pounds of meat. I have a solution. The rest of your party cannot help you carry it. Given that this is the main mechanic of this game, it drags it all down quite a bit, but let's keep on playing and see how we do. Hunt some more, buy food, ox dies, no water. That's the wrong disease! Helpful Indians, more hunting, broken axle. Wait, a thief stole 8 sets of clothes? That was all of them! I'm naked now! Find fruit, lots of hunting, Independence Rock, Green River crossing. I rested for a few days, then the ferry took me across. Yes! Finally! You know, I'm fine with that, as long as it was from dysentery. Measles, fruit, more hunting, Oh, look at that! We've arrived at Soda Springs. I will have a Pepsi. Once we reach Snake River, I find the startling truth. There's no ferry to take us across. I tried to hire an Indian, but they wanted clothes and I don't have any. After waiting for conditions to improve, I caulked my wagon and floated it across. Miraculously, nothing bad happened. Lost 9 days, dysentery died, lost 4 more days, and at this point, our health is pretty bad. Of dies and died dies, and at this point, only you is left. I got this! Well, would you look at that? You has died. Why am I bad at this? Well, if we can't beat the normal version, let's try a later one. In 1993, they released Oregon Trail, although to distinguish it from the other 7, it's generally called Oregon Trail 1.2. It's very similar, although the interface has been drastically improved. Also, there's even more bad stuff that can happen to you, like having no grass for the oxen, or being bitten by a snake. The biggest change, though, probably comes from the hunting minigame. Now, instead of walking around, your mouse becomes a crosshair that you can shoot animals with. Also, the rest of your party can now help you carry stuff back.
Yo, Dysentery, come help me with this dead buffalo.
The biggest surprise of all, though, comes from the end of the game. You get to choose whether or not to raft down the Dalles River. I chose to, and I was completely unprepared for what was about to happen. This happened 30 seconds ago, and it still gives me nightmares. Without any warning, you're thrust into this raft minigame. I had no clue what was about to happen and almost crashed my raft at first, but once you get the hang of it, it was pretty easy. And that's it! We made it all the way to Willamette Valley. Any chance I could exchange those points for food? But what about later versions? There are actually a ton of different versions of this game. The one I played in 5th grade is the Oregon Trail 2, and it's a huge upgrade from the others, so let's check that out. You might actually play it for fun! Better graphics, more gameplay mechanics, you name it, this game's got it. Let's boot up a game in this version and take a look at some new mechanics. But I'm not playing all the way through. Dying and coming back to life 8 years later, not to mention traveling across the entire United States, has been a lot for one day. Instead of only stopping at every landmark, in this game you constantly get to make decisions, making it much more engaging at any one time. You get to choose how you want to treat sickness and injuries. There's background music, sound effects, and people will actually talk to you. Last but not least, there's been a graphics overhaul. Wait, exercising a broken bone doesn't make it better? The last big new version this game got was on the Wii and 3DS. It's not good. It has 3D graphics for the first time, and that's it. Both Super Whooper and GameSpot can agree that this game is trash. I haven't played it personally, but from what I've seen, I don't want to. Despite this stumble, the fact remains that the Oregon Trail is one of the most important video games ever made. One of the first simulation games, the longest running video game series of all time. It kicked off the educational genre, so without it, we might never have gotten the Reader Rabbit games. No, it can't be! But throughout all of this influence, this glory, these deaths, the most important thing to note is, I got to die of dysentery! Woo!